All right, so I'm going to talk about a little bit about the system that we're using. So we're using Citadel's flooring system, and I'll talk about the products that we've applied, and we're not 100% done, but I'm going to talk a little bit about, those products. So the first product we applied was a primer. So we came in, pressure wash, cleaned the floor. We primed it with ES55. So that's a primer, kind of a system you can use, instead of acid etching, grinding and stuff. So it works extremely well. So we laid down our ES55 primer. Then we waited a day, came back, and then we did our first flake coat, which we use PLE 100 FC, which is a performance leveling epoxy. So that's in with the FC as a fast cure. So we wanted it to dry fast because we're doing multiple coats, in a day. So if you don't have a lot of experience with, products that dry, fast cure products, it's 15-minute cure time. So pot life is extremely fast. That stuff where you're working, doing your cut-ins starts to go off in 15 minutes and harden. So if you don't have a lot of experience, something you might not want to use, probably want to use something with a longer cure time. So we did our first coat of PLE 100, threw down our flakes. We took about, I think it was 3 hours, 15 minutes, took a break, waited for that to cure. We came back and then we scraped those. And this was a system, we don't want to drag this out, quite a few days. We're trying to get this done, in 2 days. So we did the scraping. Then we came back and did a coat of Polyaspartic on top of that, which is a longer cure time, 35-minute cure time, gives you more working time. So we threw down that first clear coat of UL80 from Citadel, threw down another flake coat on top of that. That was later in the evening when we got that done. Then we shut the garage doors, left them open a little bit so things can ventilate. Got here early in the morning, raised the garage doors, tested it to make sure that it was dry enough, cured enough that we can get on and walk on it again. It was completely cured, dried. We did our scraping once again, scraping 3 different directions. Now we're getting ready to apply our next coat of UL80 Polyaspartic with our gunmetal glitter in it. So that's going to enhance what this is going to look like. Our final top coat is Poly 1 HD UDP, and that is a performance top coat, a polyurea top coat that is going to be more resistant to hot tire pickup and more resistant to scratching, because we do have a really dark floor. We got a black floor with tide pool flakes on it. So lighter floors don't show scratches as much. So we're not so concerned about that with lighter floors. With a darker floor, the top coat is going to be a better performance top coat in this situation. So that's kind of like what this whole system that we got going on here, a multi-day system. It's not a one-day floor, it's a multi-day floor. It's going to look absolutely amazing. You'll end up seeing the final results. Our durable top coat's going to be absolutely amazing for the customer. All right, I'm getting ready to do an epoxy floor here. We are going to be showing you the first process, and that is cleaning the floor. This is a new construction house, so it's brand new. Homeowners are getting ready to move in next week. We're going to be doing the floor prior to them moving in. I'm going to show you the cleaning process. This is a lot simpler than an existing garage floor where you might have car oil spills and stuff like that, where we've got to deal with oil, we got to deal with contaminants on the floor. This is fresh concrete. It makes it a lot easier to clean. The cleaners that I typically use even on all my floors, I use Crud Cutters Pro Neutral Floor Cleaner, and then I use a spot cleaner degreaser if I got any type of contamination from automobiles, like oil leaking from the automobile. This is what I'd be using to spot, clean any of those oil spills. Here, since it's new construction, it's cured already. They've been working on this house for several months. The floor is ready to go. The concrete's ready to go to be pressure washed and clean. It's pretty simple. We got to make sure there's a lot of sawdust, dirt, and debris down in the saw cuts. We want to make sure we clean all those out really good. We're going to be putting down in those saw cuts. We're going to be using backer rod, stuffing it down there so our filler doesn't just disappear endlessly down into those saw cuts. I want to make sure we clean those saw cuts out well. We want to make sure we clean any drywall mud off of the floor. I'll scrape. I've got a 5-in-1 tool where I can scrape any, large chunks of mud off, but it's water-based. It typically comes off really easy. The process is pretty simple. I'm gonna start off by just pre-wetting the floor. I'm just gonna come in here, wet it just with water. Then I'm gonna take my cleaner right here, my neutral floor cleaner. This is a professional product by Crud Cutter. I just put this into a sprayer. I'm just gonna spray it out, and then I'm going to just take my all-surface cleaner and begin cleaning it with my all-surface cleaner. So it's pretty simple. This was being built in the wintertime, so you got some dirt on the floor, stuff like that, but nothing major. It'll clean out pretty fast, pretty easy. So this cleaner, I'll put this on. We'll use our all-surface cleaner, rotating cleaner. It'll just kind of foam up and clean really, really well. So typically have a couple gallons of my neutral floor cleaner for a floor, a typical garage floor, 2-car garage. We've got an RV bay also here. Floor is gonna look pretty cool. It's gonna be, once again, a black epoxy floor with mica flakes, colored mica flakes. It's gonna be pretty cool doing this floor. So here's the cleaners. This is just another Rust-Oleum product right here, cleaner degreaser that I keep on hand. Also, typically Crud Cutter works really well. Rust-Oleum has a product, similar. If you have, any heavy grease, any heavy grime, typically existing floors, you're gonna get, car's gonna pull in, you're gonna have oil drips, transmission fluid drips, you could have steering fluid, a brake fluid, .3 brake fluid, any of that stuff. The foaming cleaner is all you really need, because we actually use Epoxy Shell 550 as a primer prior to doing our epoxy. So we're gonna clean the floor, let it dry, fill it with our backer rod. We're gonna go over that with our filler, shave it off flat, and then we're going to epoxy the floor with Epoxy Shell 550, which is a primer that will go, on our concrete. So, and it's meant for this is troweled concrete, pretty smooth. I don't have to acid etch it. I don't have to grind it. You might, some people might question that. It's not an industrial floor. There's not gonna be heavy equipment driving on it. This is a residential garage floor that's it's not gonna have any heavy equipment. It's not gonna be exposed to super harsh chemicals. The Epoxy Shell 550 is an awesome primer, for garage floors without having to grind and without having to use, acid and acid etching the concrete. So here we go. Let's get this going. I'm gonna show you what it looks like to thoroughly clean a new construction floor, get it ready for epoxy. So now I got my floor pre-wet. I'm gonna spray this cleaner, Crud Cutter cleaner down here. So I'm gonna get this floor covered pretty good with floor cleaner wherever I see, got a lot of drywall mud over in this area. If I got any heavy chunks, I'm gonna get my putty knife and I'll start scraping some of these areas. You can see out here where it dries, really fast. It's in the sun. Unlike acid, I don't have to worry about this getting outside and discoloring the concrete. So I've got the RV bay done now. Now I'm working on the garage side, 2-car garage side. So if there's any drywall mud on the footings, the little stem walls, you'll want to just spray some cleaner on that. It'll pre-wet it, help it clean it off, because all these footings right here, we actually epoxy these footings. So this expansion joint along here, we actually epoxy that too, fill it. We fill all the cracks, we fill all the joints. So you'll see me start to run my all-surface cleaner. Now what I like to do, I'm gonna run my all-surface cleaner. I run it one direction, then I go back and run it another direction. So, in painting terms, we call that cross-hatching. I'm gonna start out here because the sun starts to dry this where the sun's hitting it. So I'm gonna start there first. I'll work my way up and then I'll work my way back. So here we go. All right, so I've got my floor all clean now. It's gonna dry out pretty fast. We're gonna begin putting backer rod down in our saw cuts, just to give you kind of a few pointers when it comes to doing a floor. There was some overspray I saw on the floor that where the drop cloths didn't cover the floor, so just pay particular attention to stuff like that. Overspray, paint, drywall, mud, you don't want any of that stuff left behind. We had some overspray over there. The rotating nozzle, I use a rotating nozzle. It agitates the concrete, cleans it out deep into the pores. I also use a shut-off valve. So shut-off valve because you're switching in between your gun and your all-surface cleaner constantly. So this gives you the ability to switch from gun to all-surface cleaner, turn it back on, and then you've got water once again. The option is, which is actually a pain in the neck, is you got to go to your pressure washer, turn the pressure washer off, pull the trigger on your gun, release the pressure, then take your quick release off and hook it onto your all-surface cleaner, which is kind of a pain in the neck. So the quick release shut-off valve is awesome. So you can see, we got water feeding it, so I can switch back and forth. So I use, once again, a rotating nozzle. You really should be using a rotating nozzle, to clean the floor, to clean the footings. You wanna make sure all the debris is out of these saw cuts, really, really well. And then do, a final rinse down your walls. This is all dry. You typically gotta wait a day. It's pretty sunny, hot out right now. It's in the high 80s. It'll be dry, ready for primer typically the next day. I like to wait 2 days, before we do our priming. I can start doing my backer rod now, and I'll show you, what that looks like. So I'm putting 3/8 inch backer rod in. I'm gonna be doing a polyurea self-leveling 2-part filler right here. If I don't put backer rod down in these saw cuts, the filler will just disappear endlessly down there. So take the backer rod, stuff it in down about 1 inch, 3/4 of an inch, and then I'll begin doing my filler. Otherwise, you're just gonna spend a ton of money on filler, but we do seamless floors. So we've got to fill these so you actually don't see any of the saw cuts when the epoxy's all said and done. So see, I just like work along. I just kind of stretch it out, punch it down in here. Just make sure you're not pushing too hard and tearing, your backer rod all up. So you just gotta just lightly press it down in there. You don't want it sticking up because you want it to go down in about a 1/2 inch. That way your filler fills the crack itself. And if this stuff is sticking up at all, like up in the air, then it's going to cause a lump in your seam. So just make sure it's punched down in there about a 1/2 inch. So kind of just like a painstaking process. You just kind of go along here, but it only take you about 30 minutes to do all this backer rod. And wherever I get, like if I get to an end, all I gotta do is just hold my knife, pull it, and then wherever I wanna stop. So just like that. All right, so I've got now everything blown out. One of the things I'm gonna do in the very beginning, chalk line. So I'm gonna chalk a line where my 2 doors are, because a few things. I don't want to extend my epoxy floor outside of where my garage comes down. So the garage comes down, the products we're using, they're interior products, they are UV stable. We don't want our products going outside, so I typically chalk a line at the back of the rail, so right where the door comes down, so the door will kind of just sit right on that line. You won't see the epoxy outside. The other thing is we want to chalk a line now because you don't want to extend my filler outside also, because that could look a little bit unsightly and catch somebody's eye. So I just run my filler right up to where our epoxy goes. So I got 2 floors that I'm going to be chalking a line on. And the railing comes down right here. The back of your door is gonna sit right around the back of the railing. So I'll chalk a line there, and that's where I'll have that chalk visible to know where my filler goes to. When we get ready to do our primer, we tape our chalk line. That way we don't get any of the product outside or accidentally touch the concrete outside. I just recently saw a floor where the clear coat, they didn't have any tape down or masking down. They ran the roller, touched the outside of the concrete, and there was a mark, a clear shiny mark right there. So typically I'll run our tape down, then I'll run a row, 1 or 2 rows of 9-inch paper before we begin priming. So I'm gonna chalk a line and begin the process here. So I got my chalk line chalk. Now, one thing you should do is actually double check that line. So I'm gonna drop my door down. I'll drop the door down over here, verify where that door sits relative to that line. So I'll check this line right here. So you can see this line is significantly back from the actual door. This door sets a little bit different in the railing than any door I've actually done before. So I'm going to make a couple marks and re-chalk that line. It's setting, it's interesting, it's setting a lot farther in on this side than the other side. So mark that, and then it rides in quite a bit. So I think right there is gonna be good. So we are getting ready to do our primer. I could do this, when I get ready to do my primer, or I can just do it, right now. So I'm just gonna go ahead and do it right now. I'm just gonna put my masking just on the other side of the red line, so the red line gets covered. So I'm gonna run a row of tape down. So my filler is gonna come right here to the edge of this tape. I'm gonna mask off the inside edge, so I don't want epoxy coming. I want a nice line up to there. All right, now I've got my pressure washing, cleaning, degreasing all done. Came out here, used the pressure washer, the all-surface cleaner, and the rotating nozzle to thoroughly clean this. It's absolutely spotless now. So now, we've waited 2 days. Typically, you're gonna wanna wait 2 days before you do any work on the garage floor. It's been 2 days, and now we're gonna begin the filling of our saw cuts, filling of cracks, and the joints around where the footings are, and then we're gonna begin the priming process. So before I begin, working here, I'm gonna blow this out. It's just, as the garage doors have been open, when it was drying out, it was windy, it's blown in some tree seeds and stuff. Our feet have tracked in a little bit of dirt. I'm gonna blow this out now. We're going to fill, shave our filler, get it all level, and then I'll blow it out one more time. So I typically just have a battery operated blower that I blow everything out with and get this all the debris out of here, because we don't want any debris getting mixed in with our primer. So it's just a simple little process. I'm gonna begin blowing it out. All right, now I'm getting ready to do our filler for our saw joints and our footing joints. So I'm gonna be using 2 different products. I'm using a Rust-Oleum product, Concrete Saver Pro. This is a non-sag sealant, so I can, if there's any like cracks in the corners or cracks on your footings or stem walls, this is a non-sag product that you can fill those cracks with right here. And so this is a 1-part product, just gonna put it into a standard caulking tube. We've got a 2-part product. So this is Polyflex 93, and this is a high-strength polyurea elastomer that's gonna go in our saw cuts. So it's a 2-part product, 100% solids. It's a self-leveling product and a fast cure product. So we're gonna you'll overfill your saw cuts, and then you go back, it dries about 45 minutes to an hour. You go back, scrape it flat. That way you'll end up having a seamless floor. I like my floors, being seamless. I don't like to see saw cuts. I don't like to see products, that shrink and kind of like leave an indentation, where the saw cut is. We like to have a seamless floor. So that's this product. Eventually, when you set it up and begin gunning it, the first tube of the stuff, you're just going to eject it and get rid of it. But then after that, you're going to begin filling your cracks with it. The 1-part product, you can just go put it in the cracks. We're just trying to get the fine crack along the footing where the seam board is. I'm just gonna fill that crack. When we go back and prime, the primer is gonna cover over the top of that board, and then our coating, our layers of our coating will end up filling that in. So this is a toolable product that I'm actually going to be applying and tooling. This is a non-toolable self-leveling product that you just scrape off, and you'll see what that looks like, as we go. So I'll begin the process doing our saw cuts and joints. Once again, this is Polyflex 93, kind of just sets in the gun, just like a typical caulking gun, snaps in place. So I just pulled off the cap. There's a little cap right here. Just gonna discard that. Typically keep, just like a 5-gallon bucket, keep some rags available, keep some latex gloves available. This stuff, it's kind of nasty. You don't want to get it, on yourself. So gun's all ready to go. Start gunning it. You start gunning and you'll see it start to just fill the tube, and it's swirling itself through the tube, and it's mixing it. Now, just like that, you have your 2-part filler mixing it. So the first tube, I eject it into, you can inject it into a glove, or you can inject it into a bucket, just like that. Just like that, it's ready to go. Now I can begin filling. So I'm gonna begin filling my crack, and you want to make sure you're overfilling it, because you gotta have something to scrape. Sets up, once it mixes through this tube, it sets up in 45 minutes to an hour. Once your tube runs out, you just cover it with the tip, and I'll get another tube. When I get close to the outside, I'm gonna slow down, because I don't want a lot pouring outside the door. I just started thinking, if I stuffed a piece of backer rod. So I'm just gonna give you a simple tip, like when you're moving around, with the product, don't invert your gun upside down, because this stuff can start pouring back down inside the tubes and cause it to activate inside the tube. So keep tip down when you're moving wherever you're going. So just like this, my tip is down. You don't want to walk with the tip up. So next crack, we're gonna move over here. More or less a saw cut, not a crack, but. So if you're attempting to do floor coatings, in the winter time, this product right here that I'm using, you could actually apply this product all the way down to -20. So pretty much cold temperatures aren't much of a factor when it comes to this product. If you're doing large projects, they do sell this kit for large projects. So they have 10-gallon kits that you can use a machine to actually apply it with. Takes the cost down significantly of the product, per kit. So consider that if you're doing large projects. I got this really small crack. This will be amazing because it'll just get really down. It's like this small crack, the consistency of the product. It's gonna get down in there, fill that. This thing will just completely go away. I'm just gonna keep my eye on it because it's not big enough to get back a rod. We got one spot where it's starting to sink down in. I'm gonna go back over it here when I get to the end. So I'm just working along here. So all I'm trying to do, there's just a small crack where this board meets our footing. We don't want our coating to disappear. We don't want bugs coming up through there. So the primer will get on top of this board and prime it. So I'm just doing a small bead and then tooling it with my finger. Just keeping a cardboard with me right here to just wipe it on. So I'm using, once again on this, up against this footing, I'm using Rust-Oleum's non-sag sealant. This is their Concrete Saver Pro. So it's a product you can actually tool, a product that if I had cracks up on like my stem walls or the footings, I can actually put it in those cracks, fill those cracks, and it's not gonna sag or run down. So I'm just lightly touching it when I get it into this crack after I put a small bead in there just to help push it down inside that crack. So just a few kind of features on this product here that I'm using. This is a 100% solids product, so it won't shrink. I've used products in the past. You fill a crack, it dries, cures, and it shrinks, and now you kind of have a indentation, where your crack was. Being 100% solids, it's not going to shrink. It's also paintable. Product is also can be applied if there's moisture around. So if the concrete's moist, it'll still bond, stick. So we are filling our saw cuts, shaving them off with our floor scraper. Once again, we did use Polyflex 93 right here, high strength polyurea filler. So, one of the things, this is a product, two-part product with the tube that actually mixes it. So when it's going up this tube, it's mixing it and basically catalyzing it together and activating it. So, one of the things, reading the TDS, the product is pretty thick, but then it is actually shakeable. It does say on the TDS to shake this. It doesn't say how long to shake it, but it does say to actually, shake this before you start using it and applying it. And I don't know, like there could be something to the whole shaking process. It doesn't feel like, I feel anything moving around in there because it is completely full, no air bubbles. But, we had some a little bit that was a little bit greener, a little bit grayer right there. And maybe the shaking process will help eliminate that at all. Badass. Now I'm beginning to scrape off the coating now. It's been over 45 minutes. Heck, it's been over like an hour. So you can see it just cuts right off with a floor blade, shaves it right off flat. That way when you do your coating, you literally will have a seamless floor. So see, it just shaves off wherever I got any drips. Could just shave those drips off. So here's what it looks like. And I got more than one blade. So I got a pack of blades, because the blades will eventually get dull when it starts to not cut it real easy. Then just switch out your blade. So I start from one tip of the blade and kind of work it to the other end of the blade. Just push with my hips. Now I can start to see it kind of pull on my sealant and not cut it, smooth. You can start to see it leave it kind of like what I call all jagged a little bit. So I'm gonna switch out my blade, put another blade on so it starts cutting again. Okay, now I got my blade switched out. once I'm done, with my floor scraper, I think I got all my scraping done. Just flip your blade upside down so nobody gets cut. And then there's a sheet that goes over the top of that. But I just flip them over. There's the flat side. Right here is not gonna cut anybody. So floor scraping's done. Ready to start priming. So I'm working on applying my EP55 primer now on my footings. So I'm going around first, cutting in all my footings, bringing it out several inches, and I'll begin rolling with an 18-inch roller. So this is the primer coat. This primer coat, you gotta wait 5 hours to do, your flake coat, to go over it. And if something happens, like we may have some rain tomorrow, you have up to 7 days. So you gotta, top coat it within 7 days. So 5 hours, you gotta wait 5 hours, or you can't wait any longer than 7 days before you have to actually go back and sand it. So EP55 primer, this is what we're doing now. So I'm gonna be cutting in. Tony's gonna go back and start rolling. So I'm just using, when I'm doing this primer coat, I'm just using cheap chip brushes, throwaway chip brushes. I don't want to use anything, expensive, because these tools aren't going to be worth cleaning. So I'm just going to throw them away. You can see it's just a little 3-inch chip brush that I'm using. Just taking it out, once again, about 3 or 4 inches. You can go back with a little hot dog roller, weenie roller if you want. But if you take it out far enough, your 18-inch roller will be just fine. So I'm just cruising along, cutting in. Tony's gonna start rolling. So we've got, RV garage, 2-car garage, and about 1,000 square feet. Now, you don't wanna mix all your primer up all at once. We mixed up 2 of the kits, which is 2 gallons, and we're gonna start right there. 1 gallon for Tony, 1 gallon for me, and because you got about a 45 minutes working time with the product, before it starts becoming unworkable. I'm gonna work this 1 square, give a square for Tony to start, working on, and if I get the cut-ins all done and he's still rolling, then I'll begin helping with the rolling process. I got quite a few cut-ins, to do. So once again, I like to work, 2-person crew when it comes to doing epoxy floors. Done them for a lot of years by myself, but it sure is nice having, another person with you.
One coat of primer, yep.
have any tips for how you lay out the primer?
Best tip is just to measure off your square footage in advance and then know where a kit should get you. 250 square feet per gallon is ideal. We don't want to leave it too thick. Opacity is really good, as you can see, and we've done these 3 squares with just 1 gallon so far. The nice part about this product, being a water-based product, it kind of allows us to go back into it the way it cures, and the wet edge isn't as important, especially on a primer coat, because it's not setting up as rapidly.
So I'm getting close to almost done priming this floor. Here we got about 1,000 square feet. We've used 4 kits on this floor. And, just rolling out your primer, you don't want to have it too thick. So I'm just working out a nice, thin coat, working my way out towards the end of this project here. Got my last square. So you want to just have it nice, thin, even coat on the floor, no real heavy spots. So we started off, mixed up 2 of the gallons, so we started completing the single garage side, or two car garage side. Then we mixed up another gallon, and then we didn't mix up 2 more because we wanted to wait to see how far we would get with those 2. Now we mixed up our 4th gallon. Got a spot we gotta cut in around. So we're getting ready to do our epoxy floor now. This is the second day of applying the actual coating. So we applied our primer first. Now we're getting ready to do our epoxy coat with our flakes. We're gonna do multiple flake throws, and we're bagging our walls with plastic. So I wanna get plastic up on my walls because when we're beginning to do our epoxy and throw flakes and stuff, we don't wanna get in any type of splatter, any type of product up on our white walls. We don't have to go back up and touch these walls up later on. So we're just running plastic. I'm running 72-inch plastic film, frog tape, 1.5" frog tape. I want 1.5" so I have enough surface adhesive area tacking onto the bottom and then pulling it up. I don't want to use anything aggressive because I don't want to be pulling any paint off the walls either. We're tacking up with either green frog tape or blue frog tape along the walls. So I'm just cruising along, just kind of masking upside down, pulling it up. If I have to use paper anywhere, I'll use paper also. But the plastic, just get that plastic up several feet up the walls, whatever you feel is necessary to keep any type of splatter off the wall. And this is going to be black. We're doing a black epoxy here, so black on white would look really bad if you splattered these walls with epoxy. So simple little step of prep before you begin applying.
Look at all the microflakes.
So you'll see we're just cruising right along. I'm just gonna be masking. I'll show you masking this wall. It goes pretty fast. I can do this pretty quick and easy. We got Noah over here doing the RV bay. It's a quick process if you're using a hand masker, and I'm using a tough gaff right here to keep my tape with me to tack with. So I'll show you how quick this actually goes. Really simple. Once again, I like to use 72-inch film. It's the only size film I keep in my trailer. So looks like this. So I mask because I'm right-handed, and it's easier to mask upside down if I start from my right and work to my left. So I'm gonna turn a corner that'll hold my masking tight. I'm gonna take it down about 1/16 of an inch below the wall. It's gonna through kind of static, it's just gonna cling to the wall. A typical garage would only take you one roll, so it doesn't cost a whole lot to actually do this step. Now I'm just going to tack this up the wall, just several feet. I'll pull my masking up. All right, Tony, today we're going to be talking about, the floor that we're applying for the customer. The customer's wanting a black floor. We've chosen like this blacktop sample right here, and we're going to try to recreate that. We're going to be using Torgonol hybrid flakes. They're an American-made flake. We're going to be achieving this look. This is going to be pretty dang cool. So we're going to be doing a system. We're going to be doing a primer. We're going to be doing an epoxy flake coat, and then we're going to be doing 2 top coats. Can you talk about a little bit about what the products we're going to be using on this floor?
Yeah, definitely. So in order to achieve this type of look, it usually requires a double broadcast. And so what that means is we're going to prime this floor out, and then we're going to go ahead and we're going to put a coat down. We're going to broadcast flake into it, come back, clean that up. We're going to broadcast into a clear then on the second application, and then we're going to put 2 top coats over it. Where we've kind of changed it up a little bit is we are going to add these to the mix.
This is going to look really cool.
It's a Torgonol new blend. It's called Tidal Wave. And the design of it is to mimic the terrazzo type look and feel that we have here, but provide almost a recycled glass type feeling to the project. And so we'll get a little bit more reflective value, and it'll be very contemporary with this darker color that is very popular at present day.
Right. So the last floor we did that we showed in our course, we did 1 broadcast, and it wasn't a hybrid flake. This is a hybrid flake. It's something that's I think it's newer. It looks really, really cool. And we're gonna be doing 2 broadcasts this time. Can you explain that and why we have to do 2 broadcasts instead of 1?
Great question. We see all the time people try to achieve the look on the sample board in a single broadcast, and it just doesn't look right in a single broadcast. And that's because we have a 32nd, an 1/8 inch, a 16 inch, a 1/4 inch. Then we're gonna also throw in these 4 to 8 mesh mica flakes in there. So by doing that double broadcast, we're gonna get a very uniform appearance. We're gonna reflect more the true value of this sample. We'll also make it easier if we need to touch up at a later point. This allows us to touch it up easier.
And then we're also going to be broadcasting our flakes using a different method. So the last floor we showed, we threw out the flakes a certain specific way, but this time we got to throw them out a little bit different. What does that look like?
Yeah, great point. And so in order to get a small flake and a large flake to fall at the same rate, you have to put a little bit of effort behind your throw.
Right.
And so sidearm, about waist height, throwing it downward is going to provide that even dispersion.
Right.
And one other thing we'll do for everyone as well is we'll do a sample board on the side while we do it, and then we can see the difference between that single and the double when we're done.
Oh, yeah, that'll look cool.
Normally I like to use that big mixer, but that chuck does not fit, so we won't need the big mixer for the next one. So most people use what we're using today though. 8 ounces per gallon, universal tint is recommended. Black, we can go down to 6, especially since we have a primer already. That will help it dry on schedule, as well as black tends to slow down the reaction in a coating. This is a 15 to 20 mil squeegee. We're aiming for roughly 100 to 125 feet per gallon. Yeah, so normally when we flake, we'll throw it up like that. As you can see, the small flake and the large flake will fall at a different rate. And so in order to get more of that large flake in there, especially this mica, we need to do a sidearm with a little bit of push to it.
So we're just working on now doing our second broadcast on our footings, and like the first time we coated it, I try to it's just kind of a thin glue coat to get your flakes to stick on here. I'm trying to not get a whole lot to pool down on the bottom, so it's just the least amount of pool down there. Least amount of chips will be in puddles down there when you go to vacuum it. So I'm kind of just a little bit on my brush. Try not to get anything to drip. Just a nice light thin coat on there. Brush it around, work it around. Our clear that we're going over with for our second broadcast is a lot thinner than our first coat that was black. So it definitely runs down your stem wall or footing a lot easier, so you don't have to put nearly as much on your brush. So just a little bit on the brush. Dab my brush. Once again, if you get like just tons and tons pooling down, in your 90-degree angle, when you go to vacuum up your flakes, your vacuum head will get all over in it. It'll get flakes and your coating all over your vacuum. Unlike the first coat, when we did our first coat, we worked one room at a time. We did the RV bay, cut it in, and then we did the floor. Then we moved over, did our cut-ins over here because our pot life is a lot shorter with our first coat. So this, we got a little bit longer pot life, more working time, so we're doing our footings all first. Footings, and then we'll go back to the RV bay, and we'll begin doing our clear for our second broadcast coat. have noticed where we've gotten a little bit of our coating up underneath our tape to be on our walls. So when we pull all of our plastic, where we got our walls bagged, we'll be doing a few touch-ups on our walls. We'll prime, take like some bin primer, we'll prime it, and then we'll paint it. It'll be just a few little touch-ups, but then our flooring, we're actually gonna have cove base or baseboards going up in here, which will make it, you'll give it that finished look. When you got an expensive floor like this, if you put baseboards up, kind of gives you that polished, finished look.
We're going to be using the UL80 Polyaspartic in order to give us a UV stable second broadcast that is going to provide 35 minutes of working time, as well as provide us with a great base of thickness without having to worry about clouding or lap lines. And so the squeegee this time is going to be the flat flexible, which you're going to back drag. It's going to be very similar to your magic trawl. Some people actually prefer a magic trawl because of the angles a little different. So in order to go over the flakes, we don't want to build it naturally, because now we have a texture to the floor. A flat squeegee is sufficient to get us the mill thickness we need to cover. A flat, stiff squeegee used to be the choice for a lot of people, but it's a little more difficult to use than a flexible. And so where it makes sense is over quartz, where if you're using quartz and using that squeegee, it gets chewed up almost immediately, where the flat, rigid rubber tends to stand up a lot better. All right, wet liquid, here we go.
35 minutes.
35 minutes, yeah, so let us know how long this takes to get it out. I love these buckets for pouring.
So nice.
Oh, that square edge. I didn't even think of that until the first time I used it.
So we're gonna begin doing our first pour on here. I'm gonna do my first pour. I'll begin squeegeeing it out. And then we'll begin back rolling it. We'll be back rolling it wall to door, and then we'll back roll it wall to wall. So we're using a flat squeegee now to do this. I'm gonna begin running it up, get it up close to my edge, kind of dragging just a little bit up against that edge so it gets down in there. I'll push it up into my corner. Once I get my edges done, gotta push them up into this corner. This corner all filled in. Get it at an angle so it fills my edge. Now I can begin dragging my squeegee at an angle, so I'm pulling it, dragging it towards me so it lays out a nice even coat. Just putting a slight amount of pressure on my squeegee. Get it up here, run it up into my seam. Once I get it down to my first saw cut, we'll begin back rolling it. So I'm getting down, I'm gonna do one more pass, and then I'm gonna load my ribbon up again. So you can see now I've got a nice wet ribbon right here. I'm gonna pour on the opposite side this ribbon so I keep my ribbon wet, keep the viscosities consistent. And I'll begin squeegee. I'm kind of looking for the right lighting to make sure I'm getting everything coated. So I'm getting down to about where my first saw cut is, and I'll have first guy start back rolling. So you got to make sure, it's pretty critical that you do wet on wet, that you pour behind your ribbon. Don't run that thing dry. If you do, you could end up seeing roller marks, and you can see a mark, pretty bad. So it's pretty important, wet on wet. So that looks pretty good. I think I'm pretty good coated. We can begin back rolling. So we're just broadcasting our second coat of orthogonal hybrid flakes. These are made in America flakes, and with mica chips. And the broadcast is, a sidearm broadcast, a little bit different than the last floor we did. Broadcasting them different. We're kind of throwing them up and letting them settle. This is a hard sidearm throw. I want to make sure I get 100% coverage here. So our first broadcast was on our black, and we scraped them 3 different ways. Scraped them wall to wall, wall to door, diagonal. Now, there we go. We're working our way this direction, squeegeeing, back rolling. This is all ready to go. Come on. All right. Just getting that squeegee up there helps saves me from having to do brush cut-ins. As soon as I get this bay done, we'll start back rolling this whole bay, and then we'll throw our chips. Ribbon's getting a little bit thin, so I'm gonna work this other ribbon to the other bay. So we got, Noah's rolling wall to door now, back rolling. The whole purpose is, after you squeegee this out, you want to get a nice even level coat, across your entire floors. So he's almost done. Door to wall, I'm gonna go wall to wall right after him, and then we can throw these flakes. So it's the same process with, every coat. It's, you back roll it 2 different ways. Get this thing nice and evened out. And then, as soon as you can't see your roller marks, you can start throwing your flakes. A little bit hard, it's sun's starting to set. Hard to see our roller marks now, but let's give it a minute. After you back roll it, I can see the roller marks going from door to wall. The roller gets, heavy with your coating. You don't have to put a lot of pressure, just letting it glide and roll across the floor. You don't want it to drag. You want it to just glide across the floor. Starting to get to the end. Doesn't look like I need any more. I think I got enough, so I don't need to have the mixer mix me up anymore. So I'm going to begin working to the outside of the garage. We are going to have some excess, and we're just going to dispose of that using a dustpan. Just going to cut around my garage door rails here. Now when I get to this, I'm just going to slowly work my bead just right up to the outside. Just gonna let it just pool over just a little bit. Just take your time. Don't want to run tons out on my masking. And I'll go back and I'll just scrape that flat. All right, now we're getting ready to scrape our next coat of flakes. So we did 2 coats of flakes on here, the Torgonol flakes. And every time you do the scraping, prior to doing the scraping, these flakes are super expensive and you can repurpose the flakes before you actually scrape. So we're gonna blow them all in a corner, blow them up there. We're gonna collect them, put them in a box and reclaim those. On this next, the first throw, I think we reclaimed 1 box, so a whole box of flakes were reclaimed. Here, this is the second throw of flakes. We might get some more. So I'm gonna blow them all into a corner, and then we're just going to lightly, scoop those up, and then we're going to begin our scrape. The scrape is kind of just like applying our epoxy or applying, our polyaspartic. Scrape it at one direction, scrape in another direction, but then we're also scraping a third direction. So we're scraping wall to wall, we're scraping wall to door, and then we're doing a diagonal scrape. So here we go, floor's dry. This is the next day. Now we're leaf blowing. So I'm just using a standard leaf blower, gonna blow into a corner. We're gonna begin collecting them. All right, I'm gonna talk just a little bit about, the scraping process here. Just a few pointers, because what you don't wanna do at this point in time is gouge your floor, because it's gonna be a little difficult to touch up. You can touch it up, but so just give you a few pointers. When scraping the floor, I'm just holding my scraper, like this it's like a 45-degree angle. I typically put just a little bit of pressure on the scraper with this hand, and I push and pull with this hand right here. So I'm just scraping like this. I don't want to get any type of pressure on the corners. I don't want to get up too high either, because you could actually gouge the floors either way. So 45-degree angle, it's a push and then a pull back, push and a pull back. Just a little bit of pressure. Don't overly do it with the pressure once again, because that's what's going to cause you to potentially gouge the floor. So you can see I'm just scraping. You can see as I'm working, kind of like the piles that it makes as I work my way out. As I'm scraping, I'm coming back and I'm overlapping about 50% as I'm scraping. So as I'm just cruising down the line, I'm getting a full scrape and not missing anything. So I'm scraping wall to door, coming out. I'm gonna scrape wall to wall again, and then once again, scrape diagonal. So just some simple pointers when scraping. So now we've done all our scraping. Now we're gonna be vacuuming the scraped chips. Now, one thing you don't wanna do is reclaim, chips after you've done any scraping. These chips are what we call like damaged chips. They are not gonna match, your brand new chips. So we reclaim, the chips after, we throw and before we scrape, but you don't want to, once again, reclaim these. So I'm gonna blow everything into the corner, the bulk of it, then I'm gonna get our vacuum out and begin vacuuming up the rest of these chips. And all these chips, we're just gonna be tossing them out, throwing them away. Right, so I'm gonna give you some pointers using the squeegee now. So I'm gonna begin squeegeeing. What I like to do is get some built up into the corner, and then I'm gonna just run it along the outside. I'm trying to get it to spill over along this edge. Just a little bit on the edge of the squeegee. So it's gonna spill along the edge, work it into the corner, get it up in there. And I'm gonna work it down this edge. So I'm gonna turn my squeegee at a slight angle so I can get it just to spill up against the edge so I don't actually have to cut it in with a brush. Then I'm gonna begin pulling that away. Go back, pull it away from the edge. So I'm gonna get my edges done first. I'm gonna come down this edge, get it to spill up against the edge. Just like that. I'm gonna come back. Now I'm gonna begin running my squeegee. So just hold it at a slight angle, like about a 30-degree angle. Just get it to spill down here a little bit more. I'm gonna work it up again. I gotta work down. You can see it's just spilling right up against my footing. Go back, rake it out. I can come up against the footing and pull it away. Once I get enough for the back roller to begin back rolling, allow him to start back rolling. So my pour is, before I run out, I want to have more for coating poured in. The existing ribbon, we don't want to run that dry. You can have a difference in consistency. It's not a notch trowel. This is a flat, flexible squeegee. I'm just putting pressure down on the squeegee. So I'm gonna get down here. I'm gonna push it up into this corner. I'm gonna work it behind my garage door rail. Now, same thing, I'm gonna just come up here, up against the edge here. I'm gonna get it just to ride right along the edge. And I'm gonna rake it back inside. So I'm gonna work this into this corner, then I'm gonna begin working it into the other room. I left a little bit of a ribbon up against the wall. I'm gonna work it around my garage door rail. So I'm gonna check this before I move into the other room, make sure everything is coated. So we worked our way out of that room, left a small ribbon to be able to blend in to the next room. So I'll just pull this up and forward. So now we got our first pour into our garage. So I'm gonna, once again, just get it spilling over just a little bit, get my edge done. Work it into this corner. This is a corner that typically I have a brush in my pocket if I needed to use a brush. Got pressure down on the squeegee, getting it tight. So now I'm gonna work down this edge, getting it to spill in there. So I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. I'm just gonna go down the wall just a little bit. So I got a brush, I can just, if I need to brush into a corner, just a chip brush, or if I need to get up against this door, underneath the door jamb, sometimes I just hold it in my hand. We're gonna wait about 4 hours, come in, sand this, and then go over this with our Poly 1. Now I'm gonna just get it to spill over my edge just a little bit. Run it along here. I don't want a ton of this running onto my paper, so I'm gonna go back, scrape it back. I can see like if I miss some right here, I can tell because it looks flat. So I'm gonna just finish up right here along the front, pull it pretty tight. Right now we're applying our final coat. We're applying our Poly 1 HD UDP, and we're gonna be applying it one direction, then cross-hatching it, laying it out the opposite direction. So we're working our way, out this 2-car garage portion. We're rolling it, this direction, working our way out. One person's doing the cut-ins. I'm gonna be going back and laying it out from wall to wall, heading out behind Tony here that's laying down the finish. So he's laying down, a thin coat. You don't want it super heavy, just a nice, thin, even coat. And then I'll be laying it out the opposite direction and not leaving any roller marks. So I'm just doing a light roll, just going over it. We're using a 1/4 inch mohair naps to lay this product out. This product goes, unlike the other finish, it goes out pretty thin. We're trying to use, apply this at approximately 500 square feet per gallon. And when you're rolling this product, there's an additive in this product that settles in our pan. So you want to, when you're actually loading your roller up, you're wanting to pull the product, the product that gives it more durability, you want to pull that out of the bottom of the pan. Has a tendency to settle down to the bottom. So just take your roller, put it in the pan, rake it along the bottom, and pull it up.